Hello and welcome back to the Millie and Olive podcast. Hello everyone, welcome back again.
Welcome back.
Thank you to our loyal listeners who always tune in straight away.
Yes.
Shout out to our lovely Nana, who's probably the first one to listen to every single episode. So shout out to you, Nana.
We love you, Nana.
Yeah. How are you, Olivia? You okay?
I'm good. Love it. Loving the springness that is upon us.
Yeah.
I might have literally said the same thing in the
No, it's
podcast.
heating up now.
It is.
Big time.
And it's all that's on my mind.
Yeah.
It's just the birdies tweeting, the flowers.
Yeah.
Honestly, I spoke about this in the other podcast, but the blossom tree outside my bedroom window puts a smile on my face every time I come into this room. It is crazy. It's so weird because I live on a pretty, what would you call it? Just main road with no nature. But there's just this one random beautiful tree that grows in my garden outside my window.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like a postcard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so nice. But yeah, absolutely loving the weather as well. It's gorgeous.
Nothing but small talk for you there.
And that's all we've got.
That's so comfortable, yeah.
But yeah, today our episode is on heartbreak. Now, where to start with that as a topic? I mean, we're not currently going through a heartbreak, so cross those rumours. We're still very much happy and in love with our partners. But it's definitely something we've experienced in multiple different scenarios, different people, not just people, but things, all sorts.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's, you never know when you're going to experience it. So it's always good to talk about.
Yes, I agree.
It's a bit of a niche one, but I think everyone will benefit from this, even if you're not going through heartbreak, perhaps. And to be honest, it's a bit inspired by one of our previous favourite podcasts we've spoken about before, Finding Your Feet. Two girls, Grace and Abby, who sadly don't release any podcasts anymore. But I remember they once posted an episode all about if you're going through heartbreak. And I listened to it when I was going through heartbreak. And I cannot explain to you the benefit I got from listening to that podcast. It wasn't giving me loads of tips or advice or anything like that. But it was just like a pat on the back, a warm hug, to say that it's all okay, it's all going to be fine, and we're here with you. And I don't know, I took so much from it that I think it'd be silly if we didn't, reciprocate that to our lovely listeners.
Definitely. And I think it comes in so many different shapes and forms. Obviously, it's not just people. You can have heartbreak over all manners of things and pets and whatever else. And it does look different for everyone. You might be going through a heartbreak. You might have broken up with your partner a week ago. You might have broken up with your partner a year ago and you're still experiencing some sort of ache or break or something. I think, it looks different for different people.
It's weird, isn't it? Because when you say heartbreak, I automatically think of someone cheating on you.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that say about your psyche?
Yeah. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind when someone says heartbreak. I'm like, oh, they're going through heartbreak because their partner has been disloyal. And I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But as you say, it does come in so many different forms. Even you breaking up with your partner can be a form of heartbreak.
If you're the one to actively do it.
Yeah,
so, 100%.
Yeah, and that can be tough too. What's the first thing you think of?
I always visualise me as the person being heartbroken, like broken up with.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about my psyche.
Yeah.
Perhaps someone that just doesn't want to be with me.
Yeah.
Not from experience, but not just from experience. I don't know. It's just what I think of.
It's interesting, and we're not going to go into our experiences too much on this because I don't think that's fair. But from my knowledge of you as my sister, I'd say your experience of heartbreak is in that realm, and my experience of heartbreak is in the realm that I spoke of.
So my happy for not wanting to be with me.
Well, that's where you experience it the most, and unfaithful. So,
fair.
But that's probably maybe why we've gone straight to those in our minds.
Yeah. Or perhaps when you think of like your first proper heartbreak and
yeah, do you know what? Maybe that's what it is. Unfortunately, I haven't experienced it too much, but I have, and so have you. And I think firstly, we're here to validate you that you're not being over dramatic, and it can be physically and mentally soul destroying and crushing in your world. It can feel like the world is ending in your mind. Obviously, it's not to anyone else. And that's kind of what makes it so hard. I think
It's such a personal pain.
nobody else is experiencing it other than perhaps your partner, but perhaps not.
But you're not going to speak to them about it necessarily. We
No.
might do, but
I think that's one of the first things, is it's a very lonely experience.
that's true. Because even if your friend is going through, you've both broken up with your partners at a similar time, your experience of heartbreak is so unique and doesn't really cross over. So you're not going to get that much respite or security from the other person.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And somebody else can give you so much advice and so much wisdom, but in your mind you're like, I don't mean shit, because you don't know what I'm going through, which is silly, but that is sometimes how it can feel.
Yeah.
It's very much a solo healing journey.
I suppose there is some truth in that as well. Like, obviously there is loads of people in the world who have experienced heartbreak, but no one's experienced it exactly how you've experienced it. So I think there is some point behind it feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Is that that's because you are the only person to have experienced it exactly how you are. It's not to make you feel worse, like you aren't alone, but to validate that feeling. Yeah, that's probably why you feel so crap.
Yeah. But it obviously is important to talk to people, even though they're not experiencing what you're experiencing, but to have someone as a soundboard, anyone at all, even like voice noting ourselves, or and sometimes I've done that as well, just to get those internal crushing feelings and thoughts out. Yeah, preferably it's better to speak to someone.
Yeah,
if you can, and don't just let it all rot inside you. And yeah,
I think the perfect word to encompass heartbreak is shit.
Yeah,
it's shit. There's no other way to put it. Or at least from my experience, I know some people can go through breakups and things, and it can actually be quite a peaceful, nice experience. But I ain't experienced that.
No,
personally.
And I think that kind of boils down to, if we're talking in the relationship sense here, you've lost a massive part of your life in that you haven't, but in your perceived mind, you have lost a massive part, well, I guess, of your past, of your reality. You spend a lot of time with this person, probably the most amount of time with anyone else, and suddenly then to be removed from your life is really tricky to navigate, because you've also in your mind, not only the past and the present, you've created a future with this person a lot of the time.
You've got to come to grips with the fact that that's no longer going to be the reality.
Yeah.
And that is a lot to digest.
Yeah, you might think just having kids with this person, or moving out with this person, or doing X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden that to be shaken, can be quite discombobulating and quite distressing. It sort of makes you question a lot of things, but ultimately, whatever you imagined as the future probably wouldn't have been realistic anyway, because all sorts of things can happen in life, good and bad.
A heartbreak is in essence a form of grief.
Yeah.
You're grieving for that person because although they're most likely still alive, they're no longer alive in your reality, in your existence. So it is a loss. It's a complete loss, and it's can be likened to grief.
Yeah, completely. So someone you speak to maybe every day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you can't, or you shouldn't. And also just like a loss of your routine as well. You might have a routine with this person, on Sundays you do this together, and on Tuesdays you go for the sport together, and then all of a sudden that's completely changed, and you're waking up and you're not calling that person, and things are just completely different. And that will take time to navigate. I think something that's important to recognise is that maybe the first few weeks are going to be the most horrific, and you kind of just need to get into survival mode a bit and not overly analyse the long-term healing too much at that point.
Take one step at a time, put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, from my experiences as well, it was just horrific in the first few weeks, and all I was focusing on was just trying to live a normal day and just smile and be happy and distract myself. Distracting is a good thing at the beginning sometimes.
Yeah.
Not forever, but definitely at the beginning when you're feeling really crap.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Because there's a real balance between you've got to distract yourself and you've also got to keep moving and, you know, live your life. But then they also say that you've also got to feel those feelings and feel that shitness for a bit to be able to move on from it. And it's like, how long should you wallow in your sadness before you then know, like, right, enough is enough, I need to start getting on with things? What's the right balance? I don't know.
No, it's different for everyone, and it depends, I guess, on your circumstances and what else you've got going on in your life. I mean, when I've been heartbroken in the past, I was in the midst of writing my dissertation at uni. And I really put that on the back burner and too much. The issue with uni is that, and the beauty of it is that you kind of do things in your own pace and your own terms. Ultimately, there is an imminent deadline, but I can write this dissertation at any time I like around that deadline. So I think I just pushed it to the side for a little bit too long. Which hindsight is a beautiful thing. I should have done that, but yeah, it depends on your circumstances, what you can get away with and what you can't. But yeah, you don't want to wallow for too long, but you also do want to wallow for a bit. And yeah, but we don't have the answers for how long you should do that, basically. And healing isn't linear, and it will take a different length of time for different people in different situations.
I think that can be the frustrating thing about heartbreak is that sometimes there isn't an answer, and like I said, no one can sort of say to you, right, give it a month and you're going to feel like this, and then give it another 2 weeks and do this and do that. Like, I wish that there was just like a prescribed formula to recover, but there's not, and it is different for different people. And I think that's what can be so frustrating about it, is that you don't know what you genuinely feel like you're never going to recover.
Yeah, exactly. You don't think that you're going to come out of it, but you will 100% come out of it at some point, and it will get easier and it will get better. And that won't necessarily be a linear process. Some days you may wake up feeling great, other days you may not. Different times of the day can also be triggering for different people. Evenings, I think, are a tough one unanimously for everyone. I don't know why. There's something about evenings where you maybe be with that person or be texting that person. Just that time where you're probably chilling also. I don't know. You're not working, or I don't know. But it might be different for different people. But that's what I found. Evenings were tougher than in the middle of the day. So it's going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah, and that's what we can sort of tell you, really.
I think a good thing to remember when you don't think you're ever going to come out of it is that how many people do you know in this life that have probably experienced a heartbreak? And I would say like 99% of people have. I don't know if that's too high a figure. Your parents may have, your grandparents may have, your friends of friends. Unfortunately, it is something that does often come hand in hand with life and living and experiencing love, and which is a beautiful thing. And how many of them have come out the other end, being better, stronger? Look at the statistics. Think of it that way.
Think about your past self if you've been through a heartbreak before and you came out the other end and then found someone else, and you are your own evidence in a way, because you've managed to move through it in the past, if it isn't your first heartbreak, that is.
Yeah, exactly. It's not forever. You will get through it. Everyone else has, so why wouldn't you? You'll be fine. You will be fine eventually. Okay, another point that I think is worth recognising that can be really crap about heartbreak is the whole identity crisis. You kind of lose your identity a bit sometimes, because a lot of your identity can be packed into this person and doing things with this person and I don't know, being their partner and their this and that. And all of a sudden you've got all this free time. And you're like, oh, who am I? What do I want?
Yeah.
And this probably comes a bit later down the healing journey, perhaps. But then it's now repurposing that energy that was spent on this other person into something else.
Yeah. Identity crisis it's an interesting one because technically you shouldn't really put your identity in another person, should you? But I suppose part and parcel of being in a relationship and spending a lot of time with someone is that you do put a lot of energy and time into that person, which you then have when you're not with them anymore.
I've certainly had it where I just felt a bit of a shell of Millie, and that's me feeling my bad and I put too much into a person or something. But
no, I think it's not. I've definitely experienced it too.
Yeah, and just figuring out who you really are and what you want. You can go through quite a beautiful transformation, I find, out the other end of a heartbreak.
They say, don't they, like post-heartbreak glow up, or like it's a thing.
Yeah,
it does happen,
but it might take a little bit of time. But I remember after, like, we started Millie Olive Fit, not long after I had a heartbreak, and because I wanted to put some energy into something purposeful that was going to make me feel better about myself, help other people. So that was an example where I really could repurpose that energy.
Yeah, I think it does. It comes with a lot of self-reflection and like a reevaluation of your priorities and your commitments and your time, which, although it probably doesn't feel like it, it is actually a really good, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're just going to be thinking, I don't want to be reevaluating my life. I want to be how it was before.
Yeah, but that definitely comes further down the line. Heartbreak is really important for your self-growth as well. Like, as we say, you can come through this beautiful transformation at the end. But you can learn so much from a heartbreak. And I know that's another thing, when you're first going through it, you don't want to hear. But I think it does teach us a lot. And it's something that, in a way, we should all go through.
It's fantastic character development.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Cliche, isn't it? But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like, you come out of it I do think you can come out of it a better person a lot of the time.
And it will help you with your future relationships, learning what you do and don't want. If you don't want it to end like that, sometimes there's nothing to be helped in that situation. But I don't know, I think it can really help you figure out what you want romantically,
personally, socially,
environmentally.
It's difficult to talk about it when you're not in the depths of it. But then when you're in the depths of it, like, there's so much to be said, isn't there? Like, I almost want to be able to tap into that reserve of, like, how I felt then, but then you also don't want to.
Yeah, because thankfully we're so far out of it.
Yeah.
Which is great, but we've been there, and which is, again, a testament that you will get out of it. You won't even know how it feels in the future. You'll look back and go, I didn't feel great then, but I can't remember how that felt, which is a good thing. Another thing I made a note of, coping mechanisms. What are healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms when you're going through a heartbreak? I think it's important to say that you will be obviously very much missing that person. That does not mean that they were right for you. Everything happens for a reason, and trust that you're on the right path there. But like, when you're feeling so low, so crap, just constantly mourning that person, what's a healthy way to cope? What's not?
Classic, but talking to people, talk about it, bounce back and forward with someone about it. Just talk.
No, talk, but maybe don't talk to them.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I would wholeheartedly agree. I personally, from my experiences, think that nothing good ever comes from staying in communication with an ex-loved one. However, I will caveat that big time, because I know people have very different opinions on that. And for some people, it does help and it does make things less raw. But for me, I personally think rip that plaster off, because you're never you're just elongating your pain, in my opinion, if you stay in communication. Shoot me. I know that's a controversial take. I know not everyone's going to agree.
I big time agree with you.
Yeah.
I think, again, it depends on the nature of your breakup. If that person doesn't want to be with you, if you don't want to be with that person, if someone's been unfaithful, all these things, I can't see a benefit in talking to them. I don't know. There must be a context where it is beneficial, but I can't think.
Well, okay, so I can think of a context. You've got kids together.
Yeah, we're talking here from nothing time together. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Like, if you have responsibilities and commitments together, I think a lot of breakups aren't very black and white.
Maybe it also depends who you are as a person, but I agree. By staying in contact with that person, I think it would just keep me sucked in and make my healing process slower.
Yeah, it like muddies the waters.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
But it's maybe more savage in the sense that you can't talk to them.
Oh yeah, it's almost like you're like intensifying the pain, but for a shorter period of time.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that.
Is how I would feel it.
Yeah. Okay, and I think another healthy coping mechanism, and I think I've spoken about this in a different context before, but changing your state. Yeah, so if you're wallowing in your bedroom feeling sad, go for a walk. Yeah, if you're sat on the sofa, go make yourself a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. Get up and move.
Yeah.
Move, get out of that energy, that stale energy space that's filling up the room.
It's not to say it's going to completely change your sadness, but it will do something. You cannot space. You basically just got to keep moving.
Oh, I remember when I've gone through heartbreak, I stayed at Olive's, which I was very fortunate to do. So this was when I was at uni in Bath, Olive was at uni in Cardiff. You know, it was a hour train away. So I went and stayed the week at Olive's to get in a completely different space. So I really changed up the space. And I remember we were just watching TV once and I said to Olive, I'm spiralling, I'm going down a dark path. She goes, right, I'm going upstairs and read our books. We literally just went into her bedroom, had a cup of tea and sat reading. But it actually did really help. I don't know why, I don't know the science, don't know the reasoning.
It sounds really simple, doesn't it? It sounds like it shouldn't work.
Like moving to different rooms.
Yeah, I feel heartbroken and you're telling me to go upstairs and read a book and that's going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
I can understand why you'd be sceptical.
Yeah.
And it's not a cure, but it will help. It definitely will help.
Especially in those initial stages where the walls feel like they're closing in and okay, another one. What do you think about going out and getting bladdered?
Not to sit on the fence, but I do think it's really context dependent and like how you react to alcohol. If you find that when you drink it makes you sad and then you want to call your ex, that is not a good thing. And like if your association with going out and getting drunk is with your ex, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Or if you're doing it to try and bump into your ex, that's not a good thing. But if it genuinely brings you joy and you want to go out and have fun with your friends, then yeah, do it. So I'm really going to sit on the fence there because I think it's so dependent on why you're doing it and
you're right,
just your personal circumstances.
I think going out and having a couple drinkies with the girlies or guys is not the worst thing, but you're right, it's the reasoning behind it, like. Yeah.
You probably won't feel better for it the day after.
No.
But do you know what? We're all human and sometimes we do just need a bit of a short-term hit of pleasure and we are going to be in a bit like, I think it's fine if you're doing it for okay reasons.
Yeah. Thoughts on blocking the person?
I get it. I've never been a huge blocker because I'd like to think I've been self-restrained enough not to keep messaging or checking accounts. But I can understand why it comes in handy if you do keep like looking at their Instagram likes and followers or if you keep messaging them when you're drunk then I think it does come in handy. So I'm not against it. I'm an advocate for it.
Yeah, I think blocking does seem quite savage, but I think it's a fair thing to do And again, depending on the reasoning for your heartbreak, if you've been cheated on, then block that person. But also muting. I think muting accounts is a good thing to do. If you don't want to keep like all their stories popping up and seeing everything all the time, mute them for a bit.
The only thing I'll say of muting is that I have muted people in the past and then just continued to search them up.
Yeah.
And if anything, it made it more weird and obsessive because I was just constantly putting their name in my phone.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, actually, this hasn't helped.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a harder measure.
Yes.
But I think there's nothing wrong with a good block, and I think people shouldn't take it to... First of all, you shouldn't care what your ex thinks. If you need that peace for yourself to block them, then you shouldn't care what they think about that. And also, I don't think it needs to be that personal. It's for you. It's not necessarily about them. It's about you and your peace. It's not
a statement to say F you.
That's where I think it's not.
Yeah, it's because you are protecting your peace.
Yeah. So you've got to view it more like that rather than, what are they going to think, this, that, the other. No, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your own peace. Leave it at that. So I think you should, if you feel like you need to.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you need to, then that's different catfish. I'll give you an unhealthy coping strategy. Substance abuse.
Yeah, substance abuse. There's nothing healthy about that.
Yeah. And I think stalking as well.
So stalking, meeting up with, even messaging, all of that I find personally a bit unhealthy.
Stalking, definitely, but I also appreciate that, especially for the girls, we all do it. Or have done it when we're heartbroken. It's quite a natural thing. So don't feel shame about it. But I think if you can't help yourself constantly stalking and it's making you feel like crap because you're like, oh, they've got a night out and they're having fun. Oh, who's this girl that's just followed them, or they've just followed, or whatever.
That's the worst.
And then you feel your heart dropping, and it puts you in a foul mood for the rest of the day when you're out with your friends having a nice dinner.
Yeah,
that's when the blocking comes back.
Yeah,
if it's affecting your peace like that.
Yeah, agreed. I think all the positive coping mechanisms are things that you're just doing for yourself and to better yourself. And I don't know, anything that helped me was going to the gym. Gym was a great one. Finding a hobby.
Yeah. I think coming back to it again, but being around people. Like I remember being heartbroken. I think it was around like A-level time. And we went to our lovely friend Eleanor's. Do you remember?
Yes.
And we were revising together. And then I think you left to like see your boyfriend or something. Yeah. But I'm saying Eleanor's mum made us a lasagna and it was lovely and it was perfect. And that was when it was really raw, but it was a really...
Don't talk about Eleanor's mum's lasagna like that.
No, not Eleanor's mum's lasagna. Signing your lasagna was lovely, but the emotions were raw. And I also actually remember signing up to the gym on that day.
Oh, really?
We signed up to pump gyms on that day. And actually, it's so cliche, joining a gym when you're heartbroken. But
there is something to it.
That worked wonders for me as well. Like just having something to work towards. And I suppose that comes back to your identity point a bit. Yeah. Having something to fill that space.
Yes.
I'm going to say it. Time is a healer.
Yeah.
And I know it's not what you want to hear all the time. When you are in that heartbroken pain, in the thick of it, and someone says, give it time. And it's like, I don't want to give it time. I want to feel better now.
Yeah.
I want to, now, how do I feel better now? And it's quite frustrating advice, so I'll hold my hands up. But it's true advice.
It is true.
It's time.
And a different amount of time for different people, so you can't actually quantify it, which is even more frustrating. But each day you're working towards feeling less and less heartbroken, and one day you'll look back and go, oh, I'm out of that now.
Yeah,
and
that doesn't hurt.
That
doesn't hurt. Or you see a picture of them with a new person and you're like, oh, actually, that hasn't hurt me. I feel fine. And it's such a beautiful feeling. So nice.
So sometimes you don't eat. It's not like a big miraculous, aha,
yeah,
I'm free.
Yeah.
It's not like
dancing out the bed.
We're back.
It's not like that.
Because the thing is, you stop thinking about it when you start to heal more so, or you think about it less and less. So then one day you just sort of look back and go, oh, yeah, not feeling too bad about that.
Yeah.
Or I'm still feeling a bit bad, but no way near as bad.
Or you'll sort of reflect, oh, I only thought about them twice yesterday.
Yeah.
Normally I think about them at least 10 times a day. Like,
Yeah.
things like that. Like, or you have like certain day, and this comes back again to the point of healing isn't linear, but you have certain days where you really love, like, I don't know, let's say, you go to a theme park with your friends in the summer and you really laugh and have a good time. And even though that's one day in time, the next day you might feel a bit shit, but you think, oh, actually, I did have a little pocket of joy there where it wasn't the first thing on my mind.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. Another thing I remember that really helped me, but this is very, very niche, is I was home from uni and I got a job as a waitress.
Yeah, that distracts you away.
Yeah, that distracted me big time.
Yeah.
Because I was in another form of like stress, but it was actually so beautiful. Like, it was exactly what I needed. It was tough. It was like I was there all over the summer. It was so busy and full on and intense. And if you've ever worked in food service or anything like hospitality is what I'm looking for, then you'll know it's intense. And I wouldn't want to go back to it, but actually at the time it was perfect for me. It was really perfect for me. And I met new people, so I had a new system of friends. I had a purpose, even that it was just to make enough money for when I go back to uni, sort of thing. But that did a lot for me, and I know that's very niche, but
No, but it's a good one. Another one for me, a bit boring, but journaling did really help me. And not saying that's going to work for everyone, but I was really in my journaling era then anyway. And I actually remember I journaled, I want to say it was the day that everything kicked off and I was in my, obviously, rawest one of heartbreaks. Actually, makes me emotional thinking back to it, like how shit it was, like horrible. And I recently reread that journal entry and it was awful, the things I was saying, like just how sad I was. And I remember just being curled on the sofa, like literally thought I was dying. I felt a shell of a human being. But then I remember, like, honestly, 2 weeks later I wrote something in my journal and said, oh, I can listen to music again today. And I would write things like that, and I'd then have these little points of hope. Like, I can start to do these things again, and oh, I could, I went back to that park that we've been in together today and made a new memory in that park that's not revolved around them. I don't know, the journaling for me was a really nice point of reflection on it, and a good way of getting all those feelings not out, but in a way out.
I think that's a really good point, because I think so often you can overlook little points of progress and little points of hope. So like you said, oh, I can listen to music again, and that's something you can overlook. But if you've documented that, then it can give you more hope, and it's good to sort of write these things down and recognise those things.
Because they are tiny things.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Sometimes. It's not a quick fix to feeling amazing. These little things are the road to feeling better again. So journaling really helped me through that, and I'll always recommend journaling to everyone, but I know it's not for everyone. But yeah, and you will make new memories in those places that you've been to with your partner, because sometimes that can feel raw. There's certain circumstances and situations where you're like, oh, me and them were there and did this, and that was our first date. And
it could be the most mundane places, like a little Sainsbury's that you go to together, and it's like, oh, I remember when we bought the bacon and we were arguing over the back bacon or the streaky bacon. Yeah. It's like so mundane.
And everyone's looking at you when you're crying about that, going,
crying in the bacon aisle.
Yeah.
But for you, it's so real. Yeah. It's so real and so raw.
But you'll make new memories eventually in those places, and it won't all be about that in your mind.
Another tip: listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
there's some really good podcasts out there on Heartbreak. I tell you who is quite good. But he is a bit cringy. Is it like Matthew something?
Is he the Heartbreak guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I've listened to a few of his before.
But he is good when you're in it. Like,
Yeah.
he is.
He does loads, and they're really like specific niche ones tailored to your form of heartbreak. And I think his podcast is all about that. Like, I'm not sure. It's all about relationships and stuff. But yeah, he's a really good one. That's a good recommendation.
Then I think, but also, like other podcasts of people that are actually going through it, or YouTube videos, you can always find content out there.
Yeah.
And I think to see or hear someone else going through it that gives you a lot of validation.
Yeah.
Read The Untethered Soul.
There's some really good books out there on certain spirituality practices and mental health practices and all that sort of thing that will help you through these situations and view the world in a bit more of a pragmatic sense.
Don't watch rom-coms.
Oh,
it's hard. I remember going through a heartbreak and trying to watch something with you on the TV, and anything that had any form of love or relationship in it made me feel sick to my core. But when you actually think about it, everything has some form of a relationship in it. It's really hard to find something that doesn't.
Yeah.
Like really hard. But you can like hyperfixate on certain shows. That I remember, I think at one point, this was like early days when I went for a heartbreak, I just kept watching 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
I was going to say, I swear there was a stage where we watched sort of stand-up comedy.
Yeah, you'd like things like that.
Actually just search like Bob Mortimer, stand-up comedy sort of something, and watch one of his performances.
Yeah.
Because there's no romance in that. It's all human.
Comedy's a great one.
Comedy, yeah. Your favourite comedy show, your favourite stand-up comedians, anything like that. There's so much out there. We just go on YouTube a lot of the time and find something to watch. But yeah, that's really, really helpful.
I just remember watching 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown on repeat.
That's a niche one. You don't watch that anymore.
No, this was ages ago.
Yeah.
Like when we had little TVs in our room.
Yeah.
Just used, because I didn't want to be left alone with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Didn't want to watch anything with love in it or anything. And that doesn't. And I wanted to laugh, but also feel a bit comforted by the people. And I liked the people in it, and I knew all the people. So yeah, that's it. Comedy though, and laugh, getting laugh. You might not even laugh at it if you're, really feeling shit. You might even just manage a little smirk. But that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't need to be belly laughing. I'm not expecting you to be belly laughing when you're in the middle of a heartbreak.
Yeah.
It might help.
Yes. I feel like we're going to end this podcast and I'm going to think of something really key that we haven't touched.
There's so much that can be said about heartbreak.
There is.
So many different tips, tricks, thoughts.
We can always do a part 2 if we feel that's needed.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we've covered everything that there is to be said. I don't think we ever will be able to.
No, but this is just some initial thoughts and reflections.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's been comforting. I don't know if it has.
Yeah.
Or just been us lecturing about heartbreak. I don't know. But it's an interesting topic. And yeah, if you're going through it right now, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay. You will be okay. And it is crap. It is shit. But it won't always feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Preach it.
But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. We'll come back next week with maybe a cheerier topic.
Yes.
Maybe not. Who knows? Yeah. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Yeah. Thanks guys. Bye.